We do indeed, Brent Leo Smith, and they're about as wild as your wild part of the Mara and yourself, except that at the moment they're all very sleepy. So they've just had a big... I believe they made a kill this morning, and so we've been just waiting to try and get into the sighting, and obviously there's a few cars that were around, and so now that they've had a drink, I'm pretty sure this is where they're going to fall asleep. I don't think they're going to do too much more for the morning. They all have fairly full bellies. They look as though they're quite hot and tired as well, and so I think we're going to have resting puppies for the morning. I don't think they're going to get too active just yet. Well, you never know. Maybe an impala comes down towards the water or something, and that might trigger them to chase again. But it is the Investec breakaway pack, so it's the pack of 8 that we have here, which is one that we saw yesterday with Steve and James. They were both, well, they were hanging around Djuma, and then they've done a big loop down to the south from Torchwood side. So we're quite busy during the evening and early morning this morning. And quite easy to recognize them, in particular the dog on the far right. So there's a dog that's sitting by itself way away from all the others, even further. There we go, Dave. So that dog there is the easiest one of the whole pack to recognize. You see on his left shoulder, he has a very, or she is, is it he or she? He, that's right. He's got a massive big white patch and then a very white leg that he's got there, and then the little sort of round circles that almost looks like a dog's face. So the 2 eyes on top, and then the sort of nose coming down from there. So that's how I always think of this one, and quite easy to recognize, much more white than any of the other dogs that we've got in this area at the moment, and so easy member of the pack to recognize. But always good to catch up with the dogs. Obviously they're animals that we sort of struggle to have consistently, even just because of their sheer movement that they have. So you find that they go back and forth all over the place, and it really is tough to kind of monitor where exactly they move all the time. And so it's nice when they stick around for a couple of days, and we really actually have been spoiled over the past few months. We've had fairly consistent wild dog sightings, which is very good. Now you can see Chitwa Dam in the background there, and it's amazing because Dave and I were here this morning already. Just before we found Hosanna, we were down in this section, and there were no wild dogs at that point. Yeah, so it just goes to show how you can miss things fairly easily. It's just about being in the right place at the right time to be able to find these kind of guys. And the reason why we actually didn't track them is because we did see their tracks, is that they went into Little Gowrie Vessels area, and they were actually found on Vessels, and then they came back towards Chitwa. So we wouldn't have had much luck had we tried to track them anyway, given that it was off our area. But like I said, I think pretty much everybody's going to try and sort of start catching a nap now. It's that time of the day where they are going to slow down. It's getting hot, as James is alluding to. So, Mary Elizabeth, as I just said, yes, this is the same pack that was yesterday with Steve and James. It was in Djuma. They then went from Djuma, they went towards Buffelshoek, from Buffelshoek to Torchwood, Torchwood south towards Chitwa, from Chitwa into Little Gowrie into Vessels into Nets back into Chitwa, and that's where they are now. So they've done a fair amount of movement during the night, which is surprising, because I was saying to Dave there was a fairly dark night last night. The moon is starting to go back towards new moon, and generally when it's a dark evening the dogs don't move around nearly as much. If it's a full moon, then you'll find that they run a lot during the night because it's bright enough that they can see. But when it's new moon, they're very much stationary animals. They don't like to move around too much because of the threat of lions and hyenas, and the fact that they actually can't see them too well stops them from sort of running around too much. But if you look at the one on the back right, it's quite entertaining because you can just see how full these dogs are. Its tummy is bulging as it lies on its side. So there you go. That's a very full wild dog. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of resting now. Right. Well, James Hendry is continuing his theme of nests, and I'm told that he is now sitting with a very bright, white, fluffy, foamy nest at the moment. Well, I think it's an animal that everyone up in the Mara seems to miss it. They are incredible creatures, and they do a lot of insane things, and that's why a lot of the presenters and guides across the world love wild dogs. It's just because of how active they are. In terms of them doing something amazing, I don't think so. I think it is still nap time at the moment. They are really very, very sedate and sleepy. You can see they kind of just get up every now and then. One looks around and then they flop back down, and no one is really in the mood to move. I don't think they're going to go anywhere for the first, well, for most of the day, and then you'll find this afternoon maybe they'll get up at around sunset. But there's a sort of a good situation that's building for this afternoon. So if you were thinking about whether or not you were going to join our drive this afternoon, I feel like you should, because the reason is that while the wild dogs are right here, sitting on the southern side of Chitwa Dam, Hosana is just on top of the hill. So Hosana is basically right in front of us, on top, right on the top edge of that sort of open area over there. And so it's not very far for these wild dogs to go, and maybe we'll see an interaction between the two of them, which is always quite spectacular. When you look at dogs and leopard, it is very, very interesting to see the sort of kind of way that they interact, and I wouldn't be surprised if the dogs do decide to get up, that they will go that way. The other thing is that the dogs are at Chitwa Dam, and we know Chitwa Dam on a hot day like today is going to draw a lot of animals down to the water, and that means that there could be absolute chaos here in the afternoon. So it's going to be a really good thing to stay with them while they are sleepy now. I'm pretty sure that they are going to eventually wake up and start moving, which is going to be very good, but not just yet. But aren't they beautiful? There's a few very pretty little females in here, and the male that we were talking about earlier, the one that's so easy to recognize within this pack, which is that individual on the far left, who's lying flat, is an absolute beast. I was looking at him just now, and when he sits, he's got much broader shoulders than any other dog that we've got in this grouping. He's got massively big shoulders, and he looks very bulky around the neck. So he's a beautiful individual, and probably one of the bigger dogs I've seen in a long, long time. When he, like I say, when he stands and when he sits, he looks a lot more kind of impressive than any of the other dogs within this pack system. It's interesting also that this pack, while they are called the breakaway pack, they have now seemed as though they've subsequently split as well into two packs again. So it's gone breakaway into now another breakaway has gone off, and that's the one with the collared dogs. So some of you might remember that there is a male dog that has got a collar around this area, and it seems as though he is split off with the remainder of this pack, which should be 5 dogs in total. So if there was the 8 here and then the other 5, it makes the 13 that were the split away. So it's interesting how often they do split, and you do see it a lot, particularly at this sort of time of year, but just before the mating season. So you'll have a situation where as we start leading up into mating, there's some males or females that will split off, and then either new packs form or they join other packs. Now, Alex, you're wondering if there is a hierarchy system other than the alphas and betas, and so no, not really. If you are not an alpha, then you are just part of the clan, and you're in a situation where you just kind of have to be a member of it and try and participate and help in the hunting and even help in the raising of those pups. But there's no real kind of actual class within them. It's not like the hyenas that seem to have a very kind of constant rank all the way through. These guys don't have that same system. If you're not an alpha, then you're just a clan member, and there's no real sort of picking on one another from there. The interesting thing, though, is as soon as an alpha is lost, it's amazing how quick the new ones sort of come in and how fast the males sort themselves out. Now, this dog that's got its mouth open at the moment, I really like this dog because it's got the coolest little marking. If you look on its upper lip, it's got like a little white section to its lip. Is it this one that's got the white on it? No, a little bit of white on that one, but there's one that's got very, very white lip. I thought it was this one that was sitting like that, but it was just its teeth behind the lip there. But there's one that has got like a little milk moustache over the top of its sort of, just below its nose, and it's very cool to see. It looks a bit funny, actually. It looks like it's got a dirty mouth, but I like it. I think it's a cool sort of pattern that they've got. And that's one of the best things about dogs, is that they've all got different patterns, and it helps to be able to then identify them because of the way that they are patterned and the way that they look. But I don't think we're going to see much more. As you can see, they are all one by one dropping heads. In fact, I think this is the first time since we've been here that every single one of them is head down and sleeping. So I think probably what we're going to do is carry on and leave the dogs and start making our way up. Maybe we'll go past Hosana quickly and just have a little look if he's still around. I believe he moved from the thickets where we last had him, because we couldn't really see him once he lay down, and he's come out a little bit from there. So maybe we'll just go past him and get one last look at our beautiful spotted cat on the way back to camp, because